Welcome to the Instagram stories for Monday, October 4th. In case you didn't know, what we do on Mondays is something I invented called Mosseri Monday, where we talk about what head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, shared on his Instagram story on Friday as part of an Ask Me Anything. The first question I want to talk about, how do you see the future of Facebook? Will it be relevant? Here's his answer.
I do think Facebook is going to stay relevant, but it's going to need to evolve to do so. And it's by no means a given. There's more and more competition. The world is changing more and more quickly, and we're going to have to adapt if we're going to stay relevant as people's interests change. So it'll be interesting.
Personally, I think the future of Facebook is pretty murky. However, I will say they have this going for them. Number one, Facebook Marketplace is great. I love selling items on there, and I've had really good success, especially with electronic items. Second, Facebook groups are an extremely powerful way to connect with people. And Instagram, you can have conversations, but Facebook groups are much better for having conversations around a common interest. So hopefully they find a way to innovate around those core strengths. Next question. Are you thinking of integrating payments on Instagram? I'm a little confused by this question because you can buy things on Instagram today, so I'm not really sure where this question is coming from, but here's his answer.
Payments are already integrated into a number of parts of Instagram, particularly native shopping. So merchants that choose to do so can connect their inventory and sell directly on Instagram, and people can transact right there in the app.
Consider this a public service announcement that if you want to sell things on Instagram, but you do not have an Instagram shop set up yet, now is your time to do it. Next question, and this is a good one because it's something we've debated for a long time. Does editing content reduce its ranking? For a while back in the day, people had said that if you edit your content within the first 10 minutes of posting it, you were okay. But if it was longer than 10 minutes, that was not okay. Never really got an official answer on it, but here's his input.
No, we don't try to understand if content is edited and then value it more or less. What we try to do is predict how interested each of your followers will be in anything you post, usually by looking at how likely they are to like it, to comment on it, to share it, that sort of thing.
Here's a good question. Would you let your kids use Instagram? In light of some of the conversations that have been happening recently from the Wall Street Journal's reporting the Facebook files, which is the research that Facebook and Instagram had done, but then seemed to ignore because it was to the detriment of teenagers, especially teenage girls. Anyway, here's his answer on whether or not he would let his kids have access to Instagram.
Mine are too young right now, but when they're 10, let's say, if we can make a version of Instagram that's designed for them, where I can control who they message and follow and how much time they spend on the app, then I would definitely let my kids on Instagram.
I don't have any kids, so I don't really feel comfortable to comment from that perspective. However, if you do have a kid and they are on Instagram, make sure you know what they're doing. I'm going to say that over and over because I think it's really important. Next question. Why does my personal account have Reels, but not my creator account?
That's pretty odd. My best guess is that your account is one of a very small number that don't have access to Reels because they're in a holdout. We withhold Reels from a small percentage of people to see exactly the effects of Reels to make sure it's working as intended. Hopefully it won't last though.
Next question. Does IG intend to improve IGTV tools? I've really forgotten about IGTV at this point. I don't think it's relevant because it's a unique video format in that it's longer than a minute, but it has to be vertical. You can't get to it easily unless you go to someone's profile. You're not really looking for IGTV videos. They can't be so, the list goes on and on. Here's his answer on the plan for IGTV videos.
Yes, but primarily right now we're trying to consolidate the different video formats to make Instagram simpler. And we're focusing more on shorter form video than longer form video. So expect more rapid changes on that side of Instagram.
It would make sense to do something that is a longer reel with a maximum of 1 minute or 2 minutes or even 3 minutes, the way TikTok has historically done. It doesn't make sense, though, to have a format that's only 15 seconds for a preview and feed, but a longer video in IGTV, but that you can also share to stories and reels. That doesn't really make sense. There's way too many competing formats and different sizes for filming and editing. It's more work than it needs to be. Okay, that's it for today's show. If you would like to support the show, go to Apple Music or Spotify. There's links in the show notes where you can access usually the articles that I cover, but also how you can support the show, along with a link to leave a review, which I would greatly appreciate. Thanks so much for listening, and come back tomorrow for more Instagram news.